next up, we have our investor panel discussion, and we have one of our investors here. Another one, I'm not sure where she is, but we'll carry on. And we have two joining us online. One of them is in California, and the other one has unfortunately been unwell. So, T, if we can please... there she is. I'm terribly sorry. Yeah. So, T, if we can please launch the Zoom screen. There we are. We've got Dana Spedding and Paula Groves online. We have Alex Daley and Sarah Turner, and our moderator for the panel is Shalini Khemka, and I will sit down and let you ladies have the floor.
Thank you. David, thank you very much. Can I begin by congratulating you for a very, very informative day? I've really enjoyed it so far, and I think it will get better with the drinks reception. So, hi everyone. So just to introduce myself, I'm Shalini Khemka. I'm the founder of a company called E2E Exchange. We help a lot of entrepreneurs raise investment, but today I'm here in my capacity to moderate a panel. This is the panel is how to have the best chance to get in front of the investors and secure funding to grow your business. So a topic we've been talking about throughout the day, and I'm pleased to be chairing this panel. We have very esteemed entrepreneurs and investors joining. I'm going to ask each of them to introduce themselves first, and I'm pleased to begin, if I wouldn't mind, if you wouldn't mind, Sarah. This is Sarah Turner, if she could say a few words about your background.
Thanks, Shalini. Thank you, David. So I'm Sarah Turner. I'm the CEO and co-founder of an angel network called Angel Academy. We started in 2014. The mission has been to mobilise more women as angel investors, as Bente alluded to. We're a tiny, tiny minority of investors out there. And we have deployed our funds in female-founded, mostly technology companies. We've collectively invested in 40 businesses so far, and they, between them, have gone on to raise over £100 million. A lot of them are doing extremely, extremely well. We haven't had any major exits yet, but we're very optimistic about several of them. So...
Thank you very much. And Angela Day, pleasure to have you.
Yes,
Alexandra Day. I'm so sorry. I don't know what. Alexandra
No
Day. Thank you.
Great to be here. Thank you very much. Hi, my name's Alex Daley. I am the CEO and founder of Daley Advisors Europe Limited. We are an independent placement agent, and we raise money globally for private equity, venture capital, real estate, and infrastructure funds. I also co-chair the Council for Investing in Female Entrepreneurs, which looks at the barriers that women face in accessing funding. And this is a council that spun out of the Rose Review, which looked at the barriers and why it was that VC only actually gave 1% of funding to female entrepreneurs.
Thank you very much, Alex. And I'm going to go over to Paula Groves. Paula, you're in the US, I believe. Is that right? Just once, Paula, just 1 second. We can't hear you. We'll just be 1 minute.
Okay.
That's better. We can hear you now. Paula, thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you. I'm so excited to be participating. So my background is I actually joined a team to launch a venture capital fund that was a double bottom line fund back in 1991. And we were focused on both job creation as well as financial returns. I then launched my own fund in 2001 to invest in women and minority-led technology-oriented businesses. And the sad statistic I want to share about that is less than 2% of, less than 4% of venture capital dollars went to women, and less than 1% of venture capital dollars went to Black entrepreneurs. Those numbers haven't changed over the last 20, 25 years. So that's a little bit of a startling statistic. I've been at it a long time. But my most exciting thing is my partner Eric Collins and I launched ImpactX Capital to invest a $100 million fund in underrepresented entrepreneurs throughout Europe. We launched it in 2018. We've closed on 26 transactions to date. We've had one liquidity event, and the company is actually a unicorn. So I'm really excited that the investment ground in the UK and Europe has been such a fertile ground for us. So I'm really excited to be here today.
Thank you very much, Paula, and congratulations on that. I'm going to move over now, if I may, to Dana Spedding. Dana, pleasure to meet you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, and nice to see everyone. So I'm Diana. I'm one of the senior investors at BGF. Have been investing for around 12 years and joined the firm just over 2 years ago. And I guess when I look at industry stats, which are quite staggering, BGF is one of the firms which are really trying to improve and change things. And we have really put backing female and also more diverse founders on top of our priority list. And just, I guess, numbers coming through from last few years. I think last year, 15% of capital we deployed went to female founders, which I know is not good enough, but it's definitely above industry average. And I have a personally very big passion to do more in space and run various events from female founders and try to mentor and really help any way I can.
Thank you very much, Dana. And I've got to congratulate BGF because they made a very big investment recently into a company. Is it called LV?
Yeah, I'm on the board. I led the deal and really, incredible, deal we had the last year, and obviously still closely involved in the company. And it was, almost a traditional story where it's a female-led product. We had all female deal team, all female, exec management team is quite rare to see, but founders challenges over the years where she had to pitch early on to all male investment firms, and it was definitely not easy, especially when she started.
Well, congratulations for that, Dana. And I'm going to move on to the topic of conversation, really. So one of the biggest challenges that female founders have to deal with is getting to the table in the first place. And we've had some very exceptional women talk about how they've done it, but we'd like to explore this a little bit further today. According to the British Business Bank report on UK VC and female founders, 85% of investment committees did not look at any all-female or mixed gender opportunities. 85%. We know it's not a case of deal flow. David spoke about that, but the data says that all female and mixed gender people submitted 25% of pitch decks. So in the majority of cases, these founders don't even get an acknowledgement. They don't even have their applications seen, their decks once their decks are received. So I'd like to discuss with the panel, what do founders need to do in order to improve their chances of getting that first meeting when all of these investment decks are not looked at? So Sarah, maybe I could start with you, and then I'll go around all of you.
Okay,
thank you, Sarah.
Well, I think as Bente really clearly illustrated, investment, it's a journey, it's not an event, and you might go through various rounds of investment. And I think of it like a big sales process as well. You know, you've got to go in incredibly well prepared, make sure that you're targeting your investment opportunity at investors who are investing in companies at your stage and your sector, and with your risk and reward profile, because it's no point taking a consumer-oriented business to a B2B investor. So really do your homework, make sure you're targeting correctly, and find people who do have a track record of investing in female founders, who've hired women in their own organisations and are keen on diversity as well. So.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Alex, do you have a different perspective? Or?
No, I'm absolutely violently in agreement, I have to say. Look, I mean, you know, I've been asset raising for 18 years, and I'm used to having doors closed in my face and no one taking my call and my emails not being answered. It's just how it is. But when you do get somebody that does answer your email and does pick up your call and does say yes, it's worth everything. But so the first thing is keep the faith. That is the most important thing. It is so tough, but it is so worth it when you get that dollar through. The second thing is, and as Sarah said, you've really got to know your investor. Really identify them first. So you've got to be the one quick to the market here. Don't let them pick you. You pick them. You own this process. But also really understand what you want. So the Council for Investing in Female Entrepreneurs is basically a council that is made up of banks, investment houses, asset managers, and also trade associations. And when we come together, we identified and acknowledged that this issue about funding and people not being able to access funding was a major concern. And so what we have done is originated the Council for Investing in Female Entrepreneurs, Investing in Women Hub. And this is a one-stop shop where you can go and look at the different areas of VC angel funding, the differences between debt and equity, really looking at how to lift the veil on funding and the right avenues for you. Because it really is a process that you really need to understand before you embark on. And there's not much actually out there that really refines this process. But if you know the right places to go to and you can build up the right network, then that makes the process a lot easier. So I would say, first of all, really own the show, really own where you're going, really love what you're doing. Make sure that you have the secret sauce and make sure that you are the best of what you're doing. But before you embark on all of that, start to make sure you're going after the right investor for you.
Thank you very much. Very helpful advice there. I'm going to move on to Paula and then I'll come on to Dana.
Great. I mean, the points that the other panelists made have been great. I can just put a different sort of interpretation and spin on them. But, you know, I was writing down a couple of notes as they were speaking. First, do your research. Find out who is investing in the type of opportunity that is consistent with your company. Now, a lot of times entrepreneurs think, if they've invested in one of my competitors, I don't want them looking at my space because I don't want them to give away my trade secrets. But I think that you're being, you know, for entrepreneurs who say that to me, I think they're being a little too rigid. Let the investor make that decision for you. But I think that investors are most comfortable investing in spaces that they're familiar with. So if you are doing a cybersecurity company or a cybersecurity infrastructure play, you should do your research and find out what VCs have invested in that space and try to get an introduction. That leads me to my second point. Getting introductions can be very, very tough, right? So you have, you know, a lot of times VCs will only invest in companies that they've been introduced to or they've received a warm referral. So then the question is for you, how do you get that warm referral? Well, you have to read the resumes of all the people that are at the firm, and then you have to use your network to figure out, is there someone you know who maybe knows one of these individuals? Don't solely rely on that first connection that you have to know them. See if somebody in your network knows them. You might be surprised. And if they can help give you a warm introduction, that's, you know, one way of getting in the door. The next thing I want to mention is I personally really like accelerators and boot camps, and there's so many words for them now. And the reason I like them is because they use strategies and methodologies and techniques to train entrepreneurs to do VC speak, if you will, right? And so once you get trained to do VC speak, that can go a long way towards having you get a warm introduction. But most importantly, these accelerators and these incubators and these boot camps, they have relationships with existing VCs in the marketplace. And these accelerators and incubators and boot camp are, in essence, the pipeline to a lot of these established VC firms. So there is no shame in participating in an accelerator or an incubator or a boot camp. In fact, that is one of the best ways to get that warm introduction that's so important, because the VCs knows that you have been screened and that they appreciate the methodologies that the incubator or the accelerator is using and has shared with you.
Paula, thank you very much, Paula. And I'd add to your comment there around accelerators. I think it gives you credibility. It gives you a brand that's backing you. So thank you very much for your very helpful advice there. And Dana, over to you.
Completely agree what other panelists have said already, and just want to add that there's no shame reaching out to other founders who have been backed by funds which are on your shortlist. Because I think it's almost personal responsibility of founders who have managed to raise funding, especially in your sector. They don't need to be direct competitors to help other founders. And I think most funds would definitely agree to have a call or meeting if it's a warm intro from a founder they have backed. And honestly, even just cold reaching out to founders on LinkedIn and saying, I admire what you have built. I'm trying to build this. Would really kind of keen to compare notes and have a chat and equally reference X fund, which I understand have invested in you. And I appreciate everybody is really busy, but don't give up and do your research and try to get that warm intro, which should help.
Thank you very much, Dana. So I'm going to move on quickly to the second question. So David, earlier, he referred to the research from Dr. Dana Kantz, and he's recommended we all watch the TEDx. She's from the London Business School. She's been looking over the last 10 years at most of the pitch decks. She found strong evidence of bias, this unconscious bias in the types of questions that were asked of female founders, prevention questions rather than promotion questions, which David mentioned before when he was speaking. And she also found that female investors, unfortunately, showed the same bias as male investors. So what needs to happen? This is a question to the panel. What needs to happen in the investment world to overcome that bias and to create a level playing field in making investments? And maybe this time, Paula, may I begin with yourself, and then I'll move over to Sarah, Alex, and then Dana.
You know, I used to be on the board of the Boston Symphony Orchestra out of Boston, Massachusetts, and they have gone to a blind audition process where in order to audition for the orchestra, they close the curtains, they put carpeting on the floor, they do everything they can to hide the person's gender, their race, their identity, whether they are a large person, whether they're a small person, whether they have a broken leg, all that's hidden. And the judges just simply listen to the music. And they make their decisions based on that. So I wish we could get to that sort of a screening process in the VC world. If you could submit your pitch deck and not have the founder race or identity as a part of it. And if the VC could just simply look at the opportunity and make a decision from there, even if it's just the first step in their screening process, I think it would go a long way to opening up the opportunities for women and underrepresented entrepreneurs if they could just get through that first screen based on the merits of the investment and the market opportunity. So at ImpactX, we actually have a client intake form on our website, and most VC firms do. And I highly encourage that process because it allows you to submit all of your information, including your business model and your investment thesis. And it gives us an opportunity to look at all that information prior to actually meeting with you. And I think it broadens our perspective in terms of the types of entrepreneurs that we want to meet with, as opposed to having a judgment if, I don't know, somebody with a broken nose walks through the door. All of a sudden, I have all these unconscious bias about that. What were you doing? Why were you so careless? How are you going to run a company? You got a broken nose, whatever it is, right? But if we can look at the merits of the opportunity before we see the individual, I think it could really open things up.
Thank you very much. That is a challenge I think that we need to put forward to the UK investment industry. I'm just going to ask the other panelists if they'd like to add anything further. I'm conscious of time and leaving ourselves.
I would. So
yeah.
I
Sure.
think Dana's insights around promotion and prevention questions hugely helpful. But actually there's been that was from 2017,
Yeah.
subsequent research from Kaufman Foundation, Startup Genome last year, Duquesne University, that shows that at least that female investors are 2 times more likely than male investors to back female founders. So the single biggest thing we can do is to bring more women into this industry as angel investors, as individual investors, or as venture capital with check writing ability. So at partner level, like your panelists.
Yeah,
that's the biggest single thing we can do.
I couldn't agree more.
I would like to just underpin that as well. So at the council, what we've done is that we have created and originated a best practice guidelines for investors. It's actually written by investors for investors, and it practically goes and looks at all of these issues, looking at the origination, portfolio management, and asset allocation processes, and literally sort of writing out guidelines of questions to ask and how not to have any form or try to eradicate bias in the portfolio. Mm-hmm. But really, if we really want to make a massive change here, how you do it is speaking to the investors and making them sure that this will not ever occur.
Absolutely, that's a very, very important point. Thank you very much for that, Alex. Dana, do you want to add anything? If not, I'll go on to the last question and then leave ourselves a few minutes for... Did you want to add anything?
Just one point. I think it's coincides with what you said about inclusive behavior training or manual, because it's actually, I think the subconscious bias, it's not just for investment decisions, it's actually for recruitment and type of behaviors and culture we display. And we need to get enough female and diverse talent represented at senior levels at investment firms for behaviors to change. Because if, for example, there is 1 or 2 female investors and they still need to pitch to all male IC, or in firms there are like 10 males and 2 females, it's still group sync, and which I think is quite common subject, where basically a phenomenon will basically occurs where group needs to, they strive for consensus instead of looking at opinions from individual members, because females or everybody has this kind of almost subconscious need to fit in, and it's much harder to actually speak out and challenge the status quo if you don't have enough representation. Whereas if you have at least 30% of diverse talent and females, it's much easier. So I completely agree. We need to get more diverse and more female talent at senior positions, and we need to obviously have more females coming forward to ask for funding, and more females and diverse talent looking at those who make decisions, who gets the funding.
Thank you very much. Thank you. My last question before we open up to the audience really quickly. What is the one thing female founders should do that they aren't currently doing in order to have a better chance of securing funding? Anything that you think we should be doing more of, or what we're not doing? Sarah?
Actually, I'm kind of, I don't think it's female founders that needs to change. I think it's the ecosystem that they're operating in. And I think we can all do something to help. I think as women, we should be setting out to earn as much money as we possibly can, gain positions of influence, and then use that influence, use that money. We can invest in female founders. We can buy products from female founders. We can use our position in our company to make sure we're buying from female-founded and diverse companies as well. So our money is our power.
And if each one of us had the aspiration to become an investor ourselves, every single female, this is when the game will start to change a lot. So thank you very much for
I think
for that.
Did it. It's the back of the envelope thing, but if individual women invested at the same rate as male angel investors, we'd have about $500 million more capital to invest, and a lot of that would go to female founders.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to make a comment on that, and then we can open up? Alex, did you want to say?
I mean, I would just say that I totally agree with Sarah. The environment has to change, and we've talked about this all the time. So it really is speaking to the converted. I would also say that, and something that we're trying to look at as well, there needs to be more support for women who have families. I think it's really, really difficult. And COVID showed us this.
Yes.
COVID was very, very bad for female entrepreneurs, particularly females that were running a business and also had to look after their families. I think we really need to look at that, and funding needs to go towards women that are multitasking both personally and professionally.
Thank you very much, Alex. That's very, very helpful. Paula or Dana, would you like to add anything? Paula?
I would just go ahead.
Paula, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought Dana was speaking. I hate to say this, but I think it's important to keep in mind that opportunity favors the prepared, right? Opportunity favors the prepared. So one thing you can't do is give up. One thing you can't do is not always bring your A game to the conversation about raising money and your company. We get tired. We get lonely, we get frustrated, and sometimes those thoughts about fairness start running through our heads, and you gotta let that go, right? So, opportunity favors the prepared, and always be prepared. But I do agree that the system needs to change, and I love some of the suggestions the other panelists have made. But until that time, don't give up.
Thank you. Dana, did you want to add anything to that? Or shall we open up? I know I can see some hands up already. So there's quite a few questions. Shall we start with the lady in green?
Thank you. I must admit, I'm very excited and overwhelmed as well. I've recently learned that I'm neurodivergent, which was never the case that I understood it. I was always told that I'm too much. Now I understand that I'm neurodivergent. So I've got millions of things that I want to say, but three. I am an aspiring serial entrepreneur, and I'm using those words now because now I have some meaning behind what's happening in my head. I was told by a CEO of the recruitment company that I went for, who asked me, "What are you doing in here? You've got this entrepreneurial spirit. You're going to leave me in a few months' time." Mm-hmm. Nobody has ever told me that this is the case. So I think the question that I have for you, how we can support females like myself who have this drive and energy. And I've learned from Olivia earlier that actually now I can answer the question, oh, Ula, where this energy is coming from? Well, because trauma happened. And I didn't even know that it was there. So how can you support us that we have it in us, but people are trying to shush us all the time? It's International Women's Day 2 days ago. We're celebrating the week. So all women are fighting for the equality. But now if we look at investors,
sorry to interrupt you because we've got a few minutes only, lots of questions. So can I answer that question for you? It's within us. You've got it. You have it in you. So it's about your personal aspiration and going for it and just be very dogmatic. I think Olivia said it, Benti said it as well. We have to be totally focused. And we have to be very tenacious, and it will come within you, and it's already there. Do you want to add anything else?
I'll speak later, because that's exactly...
And find other women like you, because there are plenty, and there are loads of networks to support us, to support entrepreneurs. So find your tribe.
And also congratulations. It's great. It's great to hear it.
Absolutely. Should we take the next question?
Hi, thank you very much. I'm Sarah Louise Ackrill, founder of Wired Differently, also neurodivergent bizarrely. I wanted to say firstly that anecdotally I know that diversity in accelerators is pretty terrible, I think. I've come across comments such as, why would someone, if they were that disabled, need an accelerator? So why do we need to be inclusive? And I was told on 3 occasions in my accelerator, well, to be fair, you were great for the stats. Super sensitive, right? And yeah, it was unfortunate. So I just wanted to say that because, if we're encouraging to go through an accelerator, we really need to educate those. And I know that the all-party parliamentary group here for inclusive entrepreneurship, led by Dr. Lisa Cameron MP, they are looking now at starting a special accelerator for people with protected characteristics. And secondly, I wanted to say, if we want to get into microfinance as a branch of our businesses, so we're taking all of these good words, we have our businesses, and we think, great, I want to start doing micro investments without having an investment background. Is that realistic for all of us to want to get into, or is it super regulated, or is that something we can aspire to?
Yeah, I think it's something that anyone can aspire to. Start with crowdfunding if you've got modest amounts of money. And it is regulated, but, make sure you're doing some homework on the companies. Don't just sling you around. If you've got a little bit more money, join an angel network like us. And what we've done is literally kind of educate thousands of women over the years about angel investing. What are the questions you need to ask? What are the things? And, and then help them to do it by putting them in groups with other people. So it doesn't require any particular...
We can all become investors.
Brilliance.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, we've only got time for one more question. So, Benti, do you have a question?
Yeah, a question because I think that all of us entrepreneurs are also investors. We invest in our own company, and I think it's just a natural extension to start investing in your angel network, for example, and then on from there on. So it's not so much a question as I hope you can, just share all the information about your angel network so we can just, jump in.
Okay, so I started it born out of frustration. I decided to do a bit of angel investing. I don't have huge amounts of money. I wanted to do it as part of a network, so I went and joined all these networks in London to learn how to do it. And I was usually the only woman in the room, and all the, you know, perfectly nice gents were very patronising to me about what I wanted. They told me what I wanted to invest in rather than ask me. They were equally patronising when female founders came along, and I just thought, I need to, you know, this is it. This is what I need to do. I can speak to other women like me that could be angel investors. They've got some financial capacity. They're brilliant. They've earned money. They've got smarts. They can help entrepreneurs and create a pool of capital that was specifically for female founders, because I could see in front of my eyes they were being asked dodgy questions and treated differently and just not getting the investment that they deserved. So that's my journey. Since 2014? Yeah, there's hundreds of us in the network, each writing relatively small tickets when we see an investment we like, and we've backed 40 technology businesses, so businesses like yours, some on a very similar growth journey as you.
Thank you very much. It's called Angel Academy, if anyone missed it at the beginning. So thank you very much. I think we've run out of time, David, have we? So can I say a huge thank you? Paula, Dana, Alex, Sarah, thank you.
Before you leave, so Shalini already has a copy, but Alex, for you is a copy of my book, and Sarah is a copy for you. And, they've gone, but so Dana and Paula will be getting copies, which I will post to them. So thank you very much, Shalini, for that.